Welcome to the Facebook Business Manager webinar that we're having today with one of our members, Tristan Bacon. He's joining us from London. We'll give everybody just a few seconds to get into the room here. I think we've got about 11 people online already. If you're here, post up in the chat, tell us where you're listening from, how you found out about us, and yeah, we'll give it just a minute or so before we get started. And really excited to share this topic with you guys today. Tristan knows all about Business Manager, and I know nothing about Business Manager. And so when he said he would be willing to do a webinar, I was so excited, you guys. And so I want to make sure we have as much time to hear him as possible. Hey, April, where are you listening from? Hey, Bill. Awesome. Also another newbie with the Facebook Business Manager. Hey, Emery. Awesome. Is it cold where you guys are? Is it cold in Atlanta right now? It's a balmy like 78 right now in Tampa. So, there we are. Hey, Auburn. Hey, Brandon. Awesome. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to kick it over to Tristan. He's joining us from London today, where it is cold and rainy.
Yep.
And he's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're going to jump right into the Business Manager, if that sounds okay. Awesome. Tristan, take it away.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so thank you for the introduction. So today we'll be going through Facebook Business Manager specifically for higher education. So I'm the social media manager for Global University Systems. We are a higher education group, international, with currently around 23 institutions across the world, including Canada, UK, Germany, Israel, India, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Got a variety of different institutions. For example, got universities of law, business, language, arts, music, medicine, engineering, general technology, and so on. So we own those universities. We either created them or kind of acquired them. And we also partner with a number of universities in the US, and we provide kind of end-to-end international student marketing and recruitment. So we use kind of paid marketing activities to find people who are interested in studying in the US. We then help them with all the admissions processes and also deal with all the helping with visa applications and academic requirements and English testing and so on, and then basically give those people over to the university in the US to then kind of join and study there, essentially. So we have a couple of partners in the US. Got Webster University, which has got campuses around the US. I think the main one is in St. Louis, Missouri, I think. Got one in Chicago, and got another one in Florida as well, Florida Polytechnic. So a bit more about myself. So as mentioned before, I'm the social media manager for Global University Systems, or GUS. I joined in late 2017. Before that, I was working in digital marketing for tech startups. And within a few years, I decided to go freelance, went specialized in social media kind of strategy, and then did that for a few years, had a lot of fun, worked with lots of different clients, but then decided to kind of go in kind of full-time and or kind of in-house rather, and joined GUS in kind of the later end of 2017. So my role, I'm responsible for all organic social strategy across the GUS group. At the moment, I have a team of 14. So we've got, I think, 6 in the UK, which is where I'm based, kind of in London, and then India and the Philippines. And we manage organic social for pretty much all of those universities or brands, as we call them internally. So it works out around 100 profiles every day that we're kind of creating content for, and also kind of doing community management, running ad campaigns as well, alongside our paid social team, who are separate to us, who kind of focus on lead generation. So we do a lot of the kind of behind the scenes content. It's all stuff you guys are obviously familiar with, being higher ed social media people. But we had to do that kind of across a number of brands. It makes things rather interesting. Oh, that slide shouldn't be in there. So Facebook Business Manager, which is the reason you're all here for. The reason, there are many benefits to using Facebook Business Manager. the overall kind of the summary of it, it essentially allows the kind of the decentralized administration of things like Facebook pages, ad accounts, Instagram accounts, Facebook pixels, handling user permissions, so giving them admin rights or moderator or analysts and so on for different pages, but also it helps centralizing community management as well. And there are a bunch of other things which I'll go through in a bit more detail. So Facebook Business Manager isn't for everyone. In our case, it's really useful because we have a large number of assets that we have to manage. But if any of these sound like you in these kind of bits here, so if you've got multiple Facebook pages or you've got lots of users across multiple departments, so say you might manage in your university, you might be a comms professional and you manage one of the Facebook pages, but actually you might have a business developer who has moderator access. You might have a paid performance marketing team who might have access to that as well. And so using Facebook Business Manager allows you to manage the access to that a lot easier than doing it in the standard page settings that you have to do without Business Manager. If you're working with external partners, so things like marketing agencies, it makes it a lot easier to handle permissions on both sides. And I'll go into a bit more detail as to how that works later. If you're running advertising campaigns on Facebook Ads Manager or even through Instagram as well, Facebook Business Manager centralizes all that for you, allows you to give out permissions for ad accounts, pretty similar to kind of Facebook pages. And also, if you're security conscious, which we all need to be nowadays, especially in kind of Europe, where I am with GDPR, or if I can remember what it stands for, General Data Protection Regulation, where we had to be a lot more conscientious of user data. So having admin access to a Facebook page means that anyone with that access can view messages, which includes user contact details, and that's a GDPR issue. So with Facebook Business Manager, you can implement security measures, for example, two-factor authentication, which we have to get a code sent to your phone before you log in. I'm sure you guys have used that before on different services. And there are lots of other kind of benefits there as well. But these ones here are kind of the main use cases. So in our case for Global University Systems, these are all kind of the assets that we manage within Facebook Business Manager. So you've got 46 different Facebook pages, lots of Instagram accounts, ad accounts, different partners. Those are all kind of agencies that we work with across all the countries, all the advertising pixels, and I think this number is actually bigger now than when I wrote this presentation, but it's 211 different people who have access. That's salespeople, my social media team, for example, marketing managers, PR, comms, copywriters as well who have access for various reasons, performance marketing teams, biz developers overseas, all these things. So it's lots of different people involved. And so this Facebook Business Manager essentially enables us to control all that. So rather than staring at a presentation all day, I am going to actually walk you through a live, like our Facebook Business Manager, so you can see what it looks like rather than me saying, being theoretical about it. You can actually see it in action. So let me go. Okay. Thank you. So this is what the business manager looks like in the back end. This is the business settings where a lot of the actual work happens. So you know that you're in business manager, which is different to facebook.com. So here we're business.facebook.com. So it's actually a subdomain within the main Facebook kind of admin interface. So you can see this kind of dark blue bar there. So that's when you know you're using it. There's lots of available tools through here. I won't go through each one of these. But if people have questions about these at the end, more than happy to go through them. But you can access all your audiences, pixels, catalogs. If you do kind of e-commerce related stuff, which isn't so relevant to what we're doing here, you can deal with kind of invoices and so on. But the main bit that I'm going to be running through today, because this is where most of the magic happens, if you will. So I guess the best way to start. So these are all the Facebook pages that we have within GUS. There's a variety of different brands that we work with, partners and so on. But to give an example, so we've got Berlin School of Business Innovation, or BSBI. This is one of our Berlin-based business schools. And here you can see all the users who have access to this channel. So normally if you go into a Facebook page and you want to add someone as an admin, you have to go onto the page itself, then go into settings, then go into user roles, and then add people there. This way is a lot easier because it means that you can quickly toggle people's access on the fly. So this guy here, who's one of my team members, he has kind of moderator level access to this Facebook page. He doesn't actually work in this account day to day, so he doesn't need full admin access. But it means I can just quickly toggle. I can turn off publishing content. I can give him full admin permissions, which automatically toggles these, which is really useful. But he doesn't need that, so I'm going to give him that back.
Because I think we hear about just about every week people saying that someone has left their university and now no one can access the Facebook page. No one else is an admin, or someone leaves and they're unhappy and they're not willing to give up the access to it. So this is fantastic for managing those problems.
Yeah, that kind of links back to the security side of it as well. So we've had a couple of instances where we have acquired universities they've not been doing particularly well in terms of student recruitment. We've then, part of my role, the strategic level, is actually onboarding new brands or new institutions. One of the issues we have is that if someone's left, the head of brand or the marketing manager for that institution leaves, it's usually attached. The Facebook page is usually attached to their personal Facebook profile. So we've got to try and get in contact with them anyway. And it could be they've been fired or just disappeared off the face of the earth or whatever it might be. We then lose access to that Facebook page, even though it's now ours. So this way, ideally, we'd sort all this out before this person left, if they did. But it means that if someone in the company leaves for whatever reason and they have access to the page, I can simply just go here and just, if this person here, for example, I can just remove them, and then that's it. That's done. To add new people, it's pretty straightforward. You just type in here, and then this is the list of the users we have across the Facebook Business Manager. So I can add, for example, that's me. I already have access, but I can then go through and give myself the access that I need to this. You can do this with multiple users at once. So I can do that, and then let's say, I'm not sure who this is, but I could give him access as well that I need. Let me just get my notes up quickly. Yeah, so if we go back a step, so the user section, I probably should have started that actually. So these are all the users that we have across GUS. There's around 200 at the moment. If you have a new starter joining, or let's say you recruited a student ambassador and you want to give them access to the page inbox, one of your Facebook pages, because they're going to help out with answering kind of questions or anything. Really simple, just click add, then type in their email address they've got assigned to their Facebook profile. So I will do one of my old freelance email addresses. I won't actually add myself, but you'll be able to see the sign up process. So at this stage, you can assign business roles. Now, there are two types. There's employee access and there's admin access. Now, I have admin access, and that means that I can add users and so on, remove pages and do all the top level stuff. It's kind of like a super admin level. Employee access is then the standard one that you see down here. And you can then assign them standard privileges like an admin, moderator, insights, analyst, and so on. There is a show advanced option section here, which lets you, it's finance related. So let's say you want to give your accounting department access to the Facebook spend so that they can generate their own invoices and do the accounting for you. You can then give them finance analyst or finance editor permissions, and they can also kind of change the credit card details that are attached to accounts or deal with any, in my company's case, we don't use credit cards. We actually have a line of credit with Facebook because we spend quite a lot of money on Facebook advertising. So I think I actually have this level because I download spend reports quite a lot. But our accounts team has it as well, so I don't actually need to. They're not asking me all the time for invoices. They can get it themselves. So we won't do that. But so let's say I'm going to add this email address here. Just click next. And this is where you can then give them permissions and add them to multiple pages at once. So in this example, let's say I'm going to use the Berlin School of Business as an example. I can then go through and say, actually, it's just a community management person. So they just need to moderate messages, and they can also by default create ads and view page performance. But then it might be I want them to also look at another university at the same time. So let's say LSPF Singapore, that then gives them the same permissions there. And I might want to give them access to an ad account as well. So let's say the LSPF Singapore ad account there. So I don't want them to be able to run campaigns, but actually I want them to be able to view performance. They can then do the analysis. If you use catalogs and apps, you can do that through here. We don't personally, because catalogs tends to be more for e-commerce companies. If you're selling and things like selling holidays or auto sales, things like that. In our case, we just do pages and ad accounts. So then you just click invite, and they will be then sent an email or a Facebook notification if they're logged in, and they'll then be able to sign up and become a user. So in this case, click done. I'm actually going to cancel this because we don't need to give my old work email address access to it, so that will disappear in time. So yeah, so then once you've added someone to the business, if you need to add them to other pages on the fly, then you can just do that by finding the page and just clicking add people here. To actually add a page then, which is quite an important bit for you if you've got multiple. So there are different ways of doing it. So there are different types of page access that you can get. So in the majority of cases, it's going to be one of your own pages that you already own. So here we've got the add a page section. So that's your own page, and that you already have admin access to. So as long as you have admin access, you can then add that page directly. Then is the request access section, which means that if, let's say, for example, you're working with, or you're doing a collaboration with another university, for example, and you want to be able to kind of post content on there or run adverts through there, you can then request access to the page, and you will then be able to assign your own users to manage that. So to give an example, so this university here, they actually manage their own social media. It's not managed centrally like the other ones. So in this case, you can see here they've given us partner access essentially, and they've given us the permissions to moderate messages and comments, create ads, and view page performance. We can then add our own people onto this, but it means that they can still add their own people on their end. So it's not done centrally. So that works really well if it's kind of a partnership as well. And you can also create a new page from scratch from here if you want to. So it saves you having to hook up the new Facebook page to Business Manager this way. So you can just do it from here directly. So yeah, one thing to remember for all of these, well, for these two, you need to be an admin on both before you can actually kind of sign up to them. So to show you an example, I'll use my old agency page, which I'm an admin of on the same account. You then click add page. Now in this case, I've already got it set up on a separate business profile. Once I then click add all, which I won't do for this demonstration, it'll then add it to this list here. I can then go back in and start adding people in the same way as I did before. The next section, ad accounts. So if you're running any paid social campaigns, so if you're doing lead generation or you're boosting content or anything like that, you can use separate ad accounts. We have different ad accounts per brand or per university. We can then add people in the same way as we do pages, give them varying levels of access. So in this case, managing campaigns, viewing performance, and so on. So you can also give partners access to this as well. So this is Mediacom, who's a big agency here in the UK. I think it might be in the States as well. They recently ran an audit of our Facebook lead generation campaigns. We then gave them analyst access to all of our ad accounts, and they then looked at kind of CPLs and looked at ways of improving the ads that we were running. So if you're working with an agency, you can just get them to give you the business ID, and they will then be able to kind of get access, and you can then tell them, you can then say what level of access you want to give them, essentially. So another benefit you may have seen down here, we've got Instagram accounts. So this is an interesting one. So if you are running paid ads through Facebook and you want them to also be placed on Instagram, because you can do dual placements, the best way to do that is to add them through this interface here. So you simply log into an Instagram account that you have, and it then allows you to choose Instagram as a placement when you're running the adverts. Beyond that, allegedly, it allows you to answer comments and DMs within the Facebook inbox, which I'll show you in a moment. But actually, that doesn't always seem to work, which is a little bit confusing. Obviously, it would be awesome if we could answer Instagram DMs on desktop, but that's something that's rolling out very, very slowly. So let's see if I can find an example of one. Actually, take a step back from that. So this is the Facebook inbox. Now, this is pretty similar. I think this is the same setup that everyone has, even if you're not using Business Manager. So you've got the standard kind of messenger messages here, and then Facebook and Instagram comments. You can set up kind of automated responses. In our case, we actually have chatbots that do a lot of the do automatic lead qualification for kind of English level and affordability. So we don't tend to use the automated responses. But the good thing about using Business Manager is that you can then give people the access through here, and they can then access anything that you need here as well. So allegedly, if you hook up Instagram accounts here, it should actually show up here as a kind of an Instagram DM section. Now, this works for a couple of our universities, but not all of them. We're not sure why. We think it might be a bug with Facebook. So it might work for you. So if you go and set up Facebook Business Manager after this webinar, it may show up for you. At the very least, you'll get Instagram comments. So this is quite useful. So you can see kind of the responses here. You can then reply as you would normally. No saved responses, unfortunately. But a lot of the comments are quite similar anyway, unfortunately. What's the next bit? Okay, so there are lots of different options here. I could go through every single one, but actually, if you do end up setting it up yourself, then it's the best thing to do is actually to kind of go through it and experiment and see what everything does. We've got things like the data sources down here. Pixels is probably one that you would use out of these. So I'm sure majority of you know what Facebook pixels are, but if anyone doesn't, rather than me assuming you do, similar to the kind of Google Analytics tracking, if you install a Facebook pixel on your website, just a standard kind of line of HTML, you can track user activity from Facebook on your website, if that makes sense. So you can then create retargeting audiences in Facebook ad campaigns. So people who visited my website or a particular page on my website in the last 30 days or whatever, you can then create an audience of those people and then do retargeting. So let's say you're advertising like an MBA, for example, and they visit your MBA page, you can then leave and then don't become a lead. You can then retarget them and give them more information about the MBA, and maybe that might be what kind of push them over the line. So here you can see all the pixels that we have across kind of some of our brands. So in this case, there isn't really a huge amount you do here aside from assigning access to ad accounts. So we have two separate ad accounts that we can use these for. So when you're creating an ad campaign on Facebook, you can choose which pixel you want to use. And so these two ad accounts for creating ads there can do that. I think that covers the majority of it, actually. Did anyone have
question? It's directing her to create a business manager page, but it still directs her to post through her own account and bills there. How do you launch directly into Business Manager?
So if you go to business.facebook.com, if you see on this here, if you go to that URL, it should, if you're already logged into Facebook, it should ask you, or it should either redirect you or ask you to log in.
Okay.
And it will then take you to, let's see, I can't remember. It should take you to something like this, kind of a dashboard with your kind of organization name there.
Okay.
And just a kind of a dashboard, really.
And it's still your basic same account, right? It's still your personal account if you're logged into your personal account, or if you have a a separate professional account of some sort. It's still you in the system, right?
It is, yeah. It just gives you a different level of settings, I guess. That's probably
Gotcha.
the best way of putting it. So
Yeah.
you can still use a personal profile. That's absolutely fine. In our case, the majority of our teams actually have dedicated Facebook profiles, like work ones they set up. The core social media team use their personal ones because it's a lot easier to, for example, boosting stuff or like managing stuff on your phones for your events and so on.
Right.
But in some cases, we get people to set up dedicated Facebook profiles just for security reasons.
Right.
We don't want some random business developer in Latvia walking around with kind of a logged into one of his Facebook pages on his personal phone and then it gets stolen or whatever it might be.
Perfect.
So yeah.
April, does that kind of answer your question? You mentioned it's about billing. I feel like we could talk all day about just billing itself on Facebook. But yeah, maybe you'll have to do a follow up on how to set up good billing practices, Tristan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so actually, I just reread April's question. It says, so it still directs me to post through my account. So yeah, you would still be posting through your Facebook account. It's not creating like a separate work one. All it is, it's just a different, the business manager, kind of business.facebook.com is purely a different interface, a different way of accessing Facebook, and it gives you more social media manager kind of tools. So for example, if I go to our Berlin School Business Innovation page, because I've got access through Business Manager, it gives me all these options here. But if I went and did the same thing on standard Facebook, actually, I'm saying this, but I'm not sure what it's going to look like. So it is pretty similar. In some cases, it asks you to manage your page through through Business Manager. I think it's I think I'm an admin on both this side and the Business Manager side, so it may look the same for me on both ends. But if you've only been given permissions through Business Manager, it'll tell you to log into Business Manager before you edit anything. So if you give someone like analyst access to the page through Business Manager, they won't be able to really do anything here effectively.
So now when you have your page associated with Business Manager, then do you lose any posting permissions from like your phone access? Then does it limit what you can post from like on the fly?
No, not at all. So this is purely an extension to the existing kind of Facebook management experience, I guess. You can still use the standard Facebook app, Pages app, the Ads app as well. Actually, I'm not sure. Honestly, it's been so long since I managed any Facebook pages without Business Manager. I'm actually not sure what it's like without it. I don't know whether the Ads Manager app on kind of iPhone and iOS and Android, whether that's any different without Business Manager, but it does give me. It means I can switch between all the ad accounts that I have access to across the group. So yeah, it does make it a lot easier. But again, I'm not sure what the difference is between not having it and having it on kind of your phone, for example.
We put up a poll, who's using Business Manager already. For those of you that are using it, and you say that you're not necessarily using it very well, what limitations are you finding in your Business Manager? So if you guys want to post up in the chat side, let us know where your pain points are. Oh, April's got a question. Do you use or need any publishing social media tools like Sprout or Falcon with Manager? Can you use those apps?
Yeah, so they can be separate.
Okay.
So actually, would you mind muting your microphones? It's giving it echo. There we go. So you can basically add those on, if that makes sense. So the social media management tools like Sprout or Falcon, in our case, we use Buffer. We have the large business plan. We it doesn't impact, basically the short answer is it doesn't impact the way you use any other social media management tools. Facebook Business Manager is something that would be used more by senior social media people. So, or if you're the only social media person there, which I know is a lot of the case with some universities, it tends to be kind of part of your job rather than your whole job. Whereas in our company, because we're quite a large organization, we have a dedicated social media team. So if you're using Sprout or Falcon or Buffer or I can't think of any more off the top of my head. I know there are so many more.
Like a Hootsuite.
It doesn't replace the experience at all.
Okay.
So you would continue to use Sprout or Falcon, can be posting content, getting analytics or anything like that. Business Manager purely makes it easier to manage user permissions. So if you need to give someone moderator access or view kind of the back end stuff, then you can do it through that, or running ad campaigns or anything like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Morgan's asking, can you go into the Facebook ad campaigns? Any tips and tricks for running those through Business Manager?
Yes. Yeah, that'll take a little bit longer, but yeah, we can definitely do that. I think we've actually finished the presentation a little bit quicker than I expected. I think we built an hour and a half for this, and we've kind of finished the main overview in only half an hour. So I think we'll definitely have time for that. I see Alicia's second that as well. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Alicia. But yeah, see if there are any more quick questions before we dive into ad campaigns, because that's a bit of a longer one. Does anyone have any more kind of questions I can answer here and now? It's got Brian giving me a headache when I was trying to set up an ad, but I'll set it up easier than just a page. Yeah, that's fair enough. So yeah, so if you're boosting a piece of content through a Facebook page, that's different to running an ad campaign. Now, technically, you can boost content through Ads Manager, but yeah, it depends how you want to set it up. I find that if you're running any ads, even boosts through Facebook Business Manager or through the Ads Manager, you get a lot more features. I found sometimes if you're boosting a piece of content directly from a Facebook page, they limit kind of the audience targeting that you can do, things like that. You can't really A/B test on there, for example, which is something that we do a lot of at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is
fantastic. There's so many more screens I feel like it's easier to understand the options when you can see someone who's using it already built out. Because otherwise, if you don't have anything in there, or you have one page, you're like, I don't know what's happening, but this doesn't look like I have many options. So this has been fantastic.
No, absolutely. So in which case, no one seems to have any more questions right now. So going back to Morgan's question about an overview of ad campaigns, any tips and tricks here? Was there anything specific that you wanted to know more about? Obviously, tips and tricks, that's paid social kind of marketing activities. It's a much wider discussion. So was there anything in particular? So do you have an example of something that you've had an issue with and you want some ideas on how to get around in the future? Or is there, how do you do multiple placements, or is there anything specific that you'd like to go through, perhaps?
Morgan, okay, looking just to learn more about it. So maybe let's say if we were to say start an ad campaign, maybe we're doing something for, a happy holidays for the end of the year. How would one go about setting up a campaign in Business Manager for something like that?
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. So we can just do one from scratch. That's no problem. Let me just get that open because that's in a separate tab. The very long URL. So unnecessary. Okay, so this is actually one of our ad accounts. So this is the one that we use for the organic social teams, but we have our own separate ones. We don't run campaigns with our paid social team at the same time. I won't bore you with the details to why that's not important for this particular part. It's more of an organizational issue. So this is the kind of campaign view for the ads that we're running. The majority of these are actually boosts rather than lead gen campaigns. So here you can see a campaign that we're running for BSBI, the Berlin school that we talked about earlier. You can see a number of metrics, kind of results, how many link clicks we've had, so clicks to our website, You can get core metrics like reach, impressions, the amount we're paying per link click, the amount we're spending, and so on. If you want different metrics, you can actually choose which columns you want. So it might be you want to look at engagement, for example, and this actually then gives you a breakdown of how many pieces of individual pieces of engagement you've had. So reactions like likes and all the variations of likes that you get nowadays, kind of comments, saves, again, link clicks, and so on. So you can see kind of there's a variety of those there. If we go back to performance, that's our standard one. So campaigns are structured in kind of 3 levels. So here we have a campaign level. We've then got the ad set level, and the ad set level is where the audiences and the placements are decided.
Okay.
So you have a campaign to promote an MBA. You then have 2 ad sets within there, which is one ad set might be targeting people in kind of continental US. The second ad set might be boosting the same post, but actually you're targeting people in Latin America. Let's say a very simple example. I'm sure it'd be more complicated than that. Within each ad set, you would then have at least 1 advert. So then that's where kind of the post copy is. That's where the kind of creatives are, any links and so on.
So you can almost think of it like a funnel then. So we have this one campaign, we're promoting this one program, but we're going to need to segment our audience into these multiple segments. And then within those segments, we'll have different graphics, potentially different verbiage running that kind of narrows down under one campaign. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. And actually, I think it'd probably be easier if I just show you a live example rather than doing from scratch. So the campaign level, there isn't ever really much here except general statistics if you want to see kind of performance and so on. If you want to see the kind of demographic and placement across all the ad sets as an average, because for some reason we seem to be getting response from a lot more men for this particular one. And you can kind of break that down, look at link clicks and the amount you spent. So we've actually spent a lot more getting engagement from men than we have women, which is interesting. You can then kind of go through reach and impressions. I mean, for us, we tend to look more at reach than we do impressions. Although a lot of people seem to think they're the same thing, but actually they're not. Reach is the number of people who've seen it, and then impressions is the total number of times it has been seen. So you could have one person. So reach is, so let's say 10 people see an advert, the reach would be 10. But if one person saw it 5 times for some reason because it kept coming from their feed, the impressions would actually be 15, 14. So it's useful. We do reach because we know that people see it multiple times, and so we want to see how many people we have actually reached as a brand awareness exercise. So we tend to focus on that one a little bit more, and we also use that when calculating engagement rates as well. So you're kind of adding likes, comments, and shares and so on. You then divide them by organic and paid reach, depending on if you're running a campaign, and then times that by 100, you then get your engagement rate. So that's one of the key performance indicators that we have for organic social.
Can you say that again? That little piece.
Which part?
The formula.
Yeah, sure. So the way it varies by platform, but to calculate engagement rates, if you need to do it manually, then it is. So let's say on Facebook, it will be likes plus comments plus shares. Mm-hmm. And then to add those together, we don't include video views or clicks. There's a reason for that to do with the way we gather our data. Because we're doing it by reach, people can then see it multiple times. So it then gets confusing. So the way we do it is completely up to you how you do it.
Okay.
Likes plus comments plus shares, add those together. We then divide that by total reach, which is usually split into organic reach. And if we've boosted a piece of content, we'll include paid reach in there as well.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. It varies by platform. Instagram is pretty similar. We add kind of likes, comments, saves or bookmarks, shares to story, and we sometimes include profile views and follows as well, depending on what the campaign is. If it's like a follower boost campaign or like a general brand awareness one, we'll look at profile visits and so on. and then do it by reach there as well. It varies by each platform.
Okay. Sorry to take us off topic, but that was super
No,
interesting.
that's fine. I'm actually writing a blog post separately about that on my own website, so I'll share a link into the group later on as to how I did that.
Perfect.
Okay, so going to the ad set level. So this is where you do. This is a terrible example. So if you boost an Instagram post from the Instagram app, you can't actually edit it in Facebook Ads Manager, which is really annoying. So if you want to boost, what we actually prefer to boost content through Ads Manager rather than doing it through the Instagram app. But in this case, we've done. There's a reason why we've done it here, and it makes sense. But I just forgot to. I just chose the wrong one. We want to do an FB one. So if we go to the Gizmo Business School and edit that. So this is the ad set level. So this is where you do kind of audiences and budgets and schedules and so on. So in this case, we have, this is an advert. I can't remember what the purpose of this advert is. I think it might be a general brand awareness campaign in our target markets. We've created an audience. There's a lot of text here, so just don't worry about it too much. So we have created an audience. Actually, I'm going to edit this so you can see it all in one place. And we created custom audiences. So actually, this links back to the bit I was talking about in pixels. So if you've got a pixel on your website, you can then exclude people who've already become leads. Because one of our KPIs is driving leads as well. So in this case, I'm not sure why there are so many pixels there. I need to talk to the guy who set this one up and see if it's okay. But we are excluding people who've hit the thank you page on one of our lead forms, because we then know that they're already leads, therefore we don't need to spend money targeting them. And in this case, we're actually excluding people who've already engaged with us on Instagram. Not sure why that is. I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason for it. Locations, we've then targeted. These are all of our target countries for the particular course that we're running. We do a lot of international recruitment. So in this case, we've actually targeted specific cities rather than countries.
Okay.
So for example, we've got capital cities for a lot of African and Middle Eastern countries. Got Ghana, Accra there. Japan as a country. Obviously, we try and name people who are able to afford the courses that we offer. So we tend to go for kind of big capital cities as well. Then you got the kind of the age and the gender, which is pretty standard. We then go into detailed targeting, which the more kind of detail you are with it, the more accurate the advertising is. We tend to use buyer personas, which we work on with our marketing teams, and also in conversations with people on social media who we understand what their interests are, what they're kind of aiming for, what kind of jobs they're interested in, and then create audiences for each of our courses. In this case, we've done a general brand awareness one, so actually we're covering there are so many interests in here because we're trying to cover all the courses that this particular business school in Berlin offers at the moment. But we'd create saved audiences, they're called, for each course. So if we have one for an MBA, we'd have one for our sustainability leadership masters, and so on. And we then also exclude people who already have kind of a master's degree or have already studied kind of postgraduate. Then here you can do by language. So we target people who speak English. And in this case, we've excluded people who already like us or follow us. A couple of our brands, which are pretty similar there as well.
I think that's really important to be detailed in your targeting. I can't tell you how many times I still see ads for Vanderbilt's EDD program, and I've finished it. You can stop selling it to me. I've already bought it.
Yeah, see, that would be a really simple fix, because they could hook up the Facebook Pixel, see that you're already a user or customer, or even export their user database and then create an audience from that in Facebook. And then exclude you, because they're now spending money trying to convince you to do their course. So yeah, but I've already done it. It's like, what's wrong with you? But yeah, see, they need a proper social media person. So if anyone's here is looking for a job, maybe you can go and pitch to those guys.
Maybe their ads manager is we gotta learn these ads manager things.
Yeah, maybe they're just boosting content from the Facebook page. They're not using Business Manager. Who knows? So yeah, that's it's a great point to kind of make there. Is it allows you, doing adverts through the Ads Manager, it allows you to be a lot more detailed, a lot more targeted to your kind of custom audience, to your ideal target audience. Sorry, mixing words up now. The next bit is placement. So in this case, we've done automatic placements. Now, what this means, it's asking you where you actually want to place your adverts, hence the word placements. So in this case, we've done a pretty standard distribution. So we're doing it in the Facebook news feed. I think actually that's it. So we're not editing it at this point. But you can run ads and then choose to have it in the Instagram feed or just do it in stories, for example. So Facebook stories, which I'm still convinced no one uses. Instagram stories, which I know a lot of people use. Messenger as well. I actually forgot that Messenger even had stories. You can do them in in-stream videos. You can also do them in kind of the audience network, which is kind of the display network outside of the Facebook properties. So once you've chosen where you're going to actually do the placement, you can go into the ad level. Optimization delivery, you don't need to worry about that from a brand awareness campaign, but if you're doing a lead generation campaign, then you might want to set like a maximum kind of bid that you want to pay for each lead. In this case, it's for page likes, because we're looking to grow one of our Facebook pages to try and reach a certain number. And we have spare budget this month to kind of spend on that. So at the ad level, this is where you would create the actual advert. So on the, let's go with that. So here you can choose which media you want to use. So you can either upload as a kind of a video or do kind of a carousel. In this case, the view, if you're creating an advert from scratch, the view that you're seeing here it'll be a little bit different to this because this is editing an existing one. But if you are creating your own one, you'll have a number of options. It will let you choose kind of carousels or animated slideshows, things like that. It's actually very intuitive. So it'll give you kind of great big options that you can look at and do it that way. So here we've got the primary text, which is what goes in the in the caption bit above there. If you are running traffic or lead generation campaigns, there are a few more options. Things like headlines, newsfeed descriptions, I can't remember what I think primary text is the other one as well. Those options will be available when you're actually creating the ads by yourself. And tracking is the last bit. So they're using the Gizmo Business School Pixel. So that means that if anyone then goes onto their website and then becomes a lead and fills the lead form, they then won't be shown that advert again because they've already been excluded, or they'll be added to the exclusion list rather. Offline events, we don't use these. They're on by default. I wouldn't worry about those. I don't even know what they do, to be honest. You could be completely open about that. We've never used them. I don't know what offline means in this context. I hope they're not tracking us.
Maybe it's something like you're trying to push to an event of some sort, get people to come to homecoming or get people to buy tickets to a football game or something.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'm not sure how they'd know. I guess if Facebook does track your locations, so but perhaps that's it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
maybe it's
Anyway.
when they're listening to you when you're talking about things, and then
yeah, and they serve you an advert for that exact thing 10 minutes later. Yeah, I've had that way too many times, and people ask me that all the time. So are they tracking me? It's like, no, they're not. I mean, they could be, but we don't know. So I'm just going to say no, just so they don't get too scared.
Hopefully they're not listening right now. Please, robot overlords.
Yeah, hopefully not. We love you, Facebook. Yeah, so I mean that is the that's the kind of the audience, not audience, the ads manager kind of interface. So obviously this is looking at an existing campaign that's running. If you're going to create a new one, I mean I won't go through the whole thing because I don't actually have any creatives to use right now. But it's a very intuitive setup. We're actually going to be doing a new one. It lets you choose. What on earth is going on here? Hang on. Create new campaign. It lets you choose kind of the objectives that you want to have. You can then kind of go into go into kind of the ad sets and start creating your audiences and deciding where you want to place them and how much you want to spend and the total budget that you have, and make sure be very kind of careful about this one because I've personally meant to set a lifetime budget for a larger amount than this and then accidentally set it to daily budget and then realized kind of a day later. Luckily, for some reason, it was stuck in review and it hadn't actually started running. But make sure you don't overspend by accident. I think your marketing team might get a bit annoyed by that, or your finance department.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can kind of go through here, and this is the bit I was talking about earlier about creating adverts. You can either use existing posts. So let's say this is where you'd boost content. So you can select a post here, choose an existing post that you've already done, and use that as a creative. Or if you want to create an existing ad, it gives you the options to kind of carousel, single images, and so on. You then can add all the media that you want to, add images, videos, and then this is where you kind of start to build the adverts and use kind of headlines and a new feature which actually I believe has been rolled out in the past couple of days. I've got a news notification about it. Facebook are actually letting you kind of A/B test different headlines within the same advert. Let's say test text 2. It will then run, as it says here, it will then run those adverts and see which one performed the best. Now, traditionally, if you wanted to do that, you've had to set up something called A/B testing or split testing.
Right.
But you have to do that from the very beginning and then come up with multiple ads. And honestly, it's just such a nightmare managing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
This way, you can actually just have one advert and then let Facebook figure out which one works better and then just continue to run with that. So you could actually test different variations of headlines using different calls to action, different descriptions. You could even do different links as well, potentially. No, so you can use one link, but you'll be able to see which one performs the best through the analytics that we kind of looked through earlier.
I like this a lot because it really forces you to sit down and be intentional and think through your ad rather than just, hey, this video is performing really well, let's just boost it, and kind of being ad hoc about your ads. This really forces you to sit down and think, okay, we're doing a campaign for homecoming to get people to come back. We might have one thing for buy football tickets. We might have one thing for the alumni dinner. We might have one thing that promotes our graduate programs. And it really forces you to sit down and think deeply about all the parts and pieces rather than just stick with, oh, I think this will work. And then getting to a point and realizing, oh, man, that should have been a carousel, or we could have done something different. We could have put a video on this. And so really forcing you to get really granular with your thought behind your ads, and so you're not just throwing money into the void.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other side, you don't have to use this way either. Obviously, that's good to be clear. Like, it's great if you want to be granular, and you should be if you really want to get results from organic social or kind of paid social. But if you just want to boost something and put $20 behind it, just get a bit more reach and see how it does, you can simply boost it as you would normally, and that's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to run like a proper campaign, you want to do like lead generation, or you want to promote a particular event for people in the local area who are interested in certain things, and you want to kind of try different headlines and to do experimentation, which is a big part of our job, especially on organic as well, because you've got to play around with the Facebook algorithm, see what works, what doesn't. Doing it through the ads manager, it gives you a lot more control over everything. So it really depends how kind of technical you are, I suppose.
That's fantastic. I really like this. And it really does help to see someone whose account is fully fleshed out, because I know when I log in, I don't have all of these options, I feel like, and seeing it all fleshed out is really helpful, I think. So for those of you that are watching, what other questions do you guys have for Tristan? We've got a few more minutes here. Is there anything else that you want him to touch on, or that you want to see? Post up in the chat. Let us know. We'd love the information that you need here. And I did see, Morgan, you were asking about building personas based off of social listening. So I don't know, Tristan, if that would be a topic you would want to take on in a future webinar, but we can definitely organize that and get a guest speaker to talk about that and how those personas are designed. I think that would make a fantastic idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I could. Sorry, hang on.
Melissa, definitely. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Brian, Bill, any questions? Deandra, Holly, Karen, Melissa, was this helpful for you guys at all? Do you feel like you understand the back end of it now? Maybe go in and feel confident in playing for it? Holly, thank you. Says so helpful. Awesome. Good. Melissa, Michelle. Oh, awesome. April says thank you. Definitely. Yeah. I feel like I said, this has been really interesting to see someone who knows how to use it, click through it. Because I think sometimes like when you pulled up that spreadsheet, it's a little bit of terror and overwhelm and you're like, oh, okay, where do I even start with this massive spreadsheet of
Yeah.
things, analytics, and what do all of these things mean? And so having someone who's knowledgeable about clicking through it, I think has been, it's made me fear it less. I admit ads manager is something that I have willfully neglected because I don't need to use it every day. And so I haven't put the time into learning it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's completely right. Not everyone needs to use it. I'm not saying that the purpose of this webinar isn't just to sell you Facebook Business Manager, even though it's free. It's for those organizations that have lots of different users or are struggling with, you know, team members leaving and then having to figure out how to get access to things and dealing with billing and ad accounts and all that stuff. It can make it a lot easier. It's not necessarily the solution to whatever problems you're having, but it definitely helps with a lot of them, especially if you've got lots of people and you need to worry about kind of security, or you need to, you know, you've got a page with multiple ad accounts, multiple users like that. But as you would have seen from kind of the interface, it can help with
mm-hmm.
that. That there are a lot more features I didn't go through because there are so many features as unreal.
Wow.
You can look at kind of you can even get Instagram insights through Facebook Business Manager now, although they're a little bit, they're not quite as fully featured as I'd like. And actually, a lot of social media management tools like Sprout Social or Buffer have far more robust Instagram insights than the guys who actually made Instagram, which is ironic. So you're actually better off just using the Instagram app, to be honest, because it gives you pretty cursory glances at some of the analytics. However, there is an interesting part about kind of user funnels. So you can actually create a funnel based on user activity. You can see how many people in the last kind of 30 days, for example, saw an ad, then clicked on your profile, then followed you, then clicked your bio link, for example.
Oh, wow.
We're having a play around that kind of on our side to see whether there's any real value we can get from that. So, for example, if we want to know, see how many people are seeing content and then clicking on our profile, that's a good. If it's high, then that's a good thing. It means that our content's engaging enough for them to actually want to find out more about us, rather than just scrolling through, clicking like, and then moving on with their lives. So, oh, there's a pretty picture of a tree. Like, actually, you know, is our content resonating our audience enough for them to want to find out more about us as a university, or, you know,
Right.
whichever university it's kind of going through? And so we then experiment different kinds of content. We then see, yeah, we then essentially see what works. So
That's fantastic. And I feel like we struggle with that, you know, in these social media roles to
yeah,
show what's that real return on investment. Okay, we gave you $10,000 to promote getting students to apply to our university, but how do we actually know that it made them apply to the university? How do we how can we follow that lead? It's a lot
yeah,
harder, I think, for universities because they can't just apply for college through Facebook, right?
no,
Whereas if you were selling widgets or something, you could track how many widgets came from, you know, being pushed to Facebook, how many of those are turning into
well,
students coming in.
yeah, actually, that's true to an extent, but actually, a lot of the work that we've been doing here, because we have so many resources to play around and experiment,
Mm-hmm.
we have actually, for the past year or so, we have been using something called UTM tags in our URLs. I'm
Okay.
sure some of you would have heard of it at least. If not, if you haven't used them, then fine. Um, Whenever we post a piece of content to social media and link back to one of our websites, we actually use UTM tags on every URL. So, for example, for the UTM, actually, I wonder if I can get an example up. That'll probably be a lot easier. Um, let's see. Ah, yeah, okay. This is a nice little bonus. This isn't related to Facebook Business Manager, but this will be a bonus for you. Because I was thinking about offering to do a webinar on ROI kind of tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So, so whenever we share a link to one of our websites, for example, using this Berlin School of Business Innovation again, we actually add UTM parameters to each URL. So in this case, we have the campaign as OSXBSBI. That's just an internal reference that we use. It means that it helps us differentiate Facebook
Okay.
traffic from the paid social team who are doing lead gen and the organic social team. So that because we use
Wow.
Salesforce for all our lead generation and sales activities. and then the sales teams then kind of try and convert them into paying students and do all the applications and so on. So whenever, even in Google Analytics, we then know that this traffic came from us. So
Oh,
even
wow.
then, so traffic is one of our KPIs, and so we then know they came from us. We then break it down by source and medium. In our case, we do the source is going to be to the social network. The medium is the placement, which is one that we started using a lot recently. So we can actually differentiate between a boost, an organic post, a comment. So if someone comments on one of our posts and says, "Oh, I want to find out more," we can then reply and say, "Oh yeah, cool. Like fill out this form, and one of our advisors will call you." If they then fill out the lead form on that page, it'll go into Salesforce, but we'll see that that person actually came through a comment rather than just Facebook in general. So we can actually be incredibly granular about where
That's
our traffic's coming
fantastic.
from and where our leads are coming from as well. And we can actually track that all the way to sales. So we know, I'm not allowed to show you the sales data, unfortunately, because I get into a lot of trouble about that. But we can actually see, we have a dashboard in Power BI which shows us how
Oh,
much
wow.
revenue has been generated at a granular level. Like I think, yeah, for example, our messenger chatbots, which do the majority of the work automatically, generate their own revenues. They actually pay for themselves because they do frequently asked questions and stuff. I know you guys have done a webinar recently on chatbots. I
Mhm.
don't know how much detail went into about lead generation,
Right.
um, but that's something potentially you could do another session on at another time.
Definitely.
Um, and then yeah, then the UTM content we use Buffer, and Buffer adds a unique post identifier to each everyone that's posted, so we can actually see not just an organic post generates that lead. We can actually see which post generates that lead, which is quite useful for us. So we then know testimonials, for example, might generate more leads than course promotions, ironically.
Right. That's awesome though, because I feel like this is like that next level social media manager training, right? So we might rely heavily on interns for, to source images for us for our
Mm,
Instagram. But, if a university is really looking to level up, their executive social media,
yeah,
person, this would be something that would help differentiate you in the field because it's
yeah,
a completely different skill set, right? Being able to go shoot and edit a video versus being able to do, sort of this granular IT things that maybe
mm,
people don't necessarily think of as a social media, skill set to have in your toolbox. But this would be, I feel like if a social media manager understood how to do all of this, they've
mm.
just made themselves way more incredibly valuable.
Yeah. Data analysis is becoming a big part of social media nowadays. A lot of people, when I talk to people like my age, yeah, a lot of them are working in well, a lot of different industries, but they'll say, "Oh, I'm a social media manager." They're like, "Oh, of course, you spend all day on Instagram." It's like, yes, but like we do other stuff beyond that. But actually, I mean, so say that the way my team's structured, so I'm the social media manager, so I'm responsible kind of strategically across the group. Um, but I have social media executives is kind of the marketing exec kind of type job title, and they'll look after one or two brands or institutions each, and they'll do day-to-day content for across all the channels, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on. Go to events and do community management and so on. But each of them will. I can't remember where I was going with that particular point, but
So they're kind of
each,
owning that channel or
yeah,
that brand.
yeah, so that they own that brand. So that means that in my role, I can go do general day-to-day, management like HR type stuff with them, but also I can look above all of those and see what can we roll out across all of them. So, for example, chatbots we've been experimenting with, doing this return on investment project, which we actually delivered a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, so I spend a lot of my time looking at data. Frankly, I don't think I've created a piece of content in like 2 months or something. I've actually
Wow.
just been I'm spending time in kind of spreadsheets and talking, hiring team members in kind of our new office in the Philippines and so on. So yeah, I mean, the term social media manager, as we all know, is quite a little bit generic. So it can apply to one person on their own at a kind of a jewelry shop, or
Right.
in other cases, much larger roles. But yeah, being a social media manager and actually kind of making kind of progress in that, you do need to understand the wider marketing mix, data analytics,
Mhm.
all of it really, even SEO to an extent.
Mhm.
So
So if you were say hiring for one of your roles and
yeah,
someone was able to put something like this on their resume, that would be a green flag for you guys then.
it would be, yeah, having an understanding. A lot of people you'll see they have skills. They'll say Microsoft Office. It's like, okay, cool. I think everyone can do that now.
2019.
Yeah, like I learned to do that when I was kind of 15 or something. So yeah, good job. But actually being able to say, I can create pivot tables or something, or I, understand how to analyze social media data in Excel and get insights from it. In reality, that doesn't actually mean much more than just saying I'm proficient in Excel, but actually it says you understand that that's
Right.
where the value can be got from. So there are kind of keywords that you can use
Wow.
in that.
And then I would imagine with all of this data at your fingertips, it makes your reporting a lot easier. So then you can
Yeah,
put that into reports to show the value from your team, and this is our return on investment, and
yeah,
here are some of the key metrics, and it makes it to where it's very easy to compare across the different properties and different platforms because you're
yeah,
calculating it the same way, but you're being able to synthesize all of this data.
yeah, exactly. And in our case, we use a business intelligence tool called Power BI.
Okay.
Similar to kind of Google Data Studio. I'm not sure what other kind of tools are that they're out there, but we have reports that are available to everyone across the marketing function across all of our universities, and they can then access our organic social performance. They can look at every post. They can then get
Wow.
averages, the amount of budget we spent, how many leads we generated, the revenue we generated from that. Um, so Morgan, we use it's called Power BI. If you've got Office 365 at your university, it should be bundled in with it. It's a Microsoft tool. So yeah, so we use that for all of our kind of sales and lead generation. So we've actually, rather than using like Sprout Social and getting kind of PDF reports from there, we built it directly into our existing workflows so that any marketing manager can just go and get the insights themselves. They're not sending an
Wow.
email saying, "Oh, hey guys, I need a kind of monthly report tomorrow because our CEO needs,
Always.
something's happening." Yeah, exactly. Like, we've all been there. Um, they can get the insights themselves.
That would be amazing for someone who's a team of one.
Yeah.
If they're having to shoot and create content and analyze it and create reports, right? Usually, if you have all these plates spinning, something's
Mm.
going to fall. So if they could automate any of that, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, with the Power BI instance, we've actually custom developed that ourselves. We've actually built, so that isn't like a kind of existing add-on that you can just plug in. Unfortunately, we spent the last 6 months developing this,
Right.
which is a bit, yeah.
Because
So
you have to customize it, right, to what your ends are. It's a different type of university, different type of marketing structure.
yeah,
You definitely want to customize it to your platform in your area.
yeah, exactly. And the way we kind of do lead generation might kind of differ. I know a lot of you guys are probably kind of social media people, but you do more kind of student experience. You might not focus on lead generation as such. It's more kind of a campus experience type thing. In our case, we do that, but also we do community management. We're kind of like customer service and sales rolled into one,
Right.
and also kind of student experience people. So yeah, it's kind of a big mix match.
Definitely. And I think too, it would be different from college to university, right? So if you're a local community college, you're looking to engage just in your city.
Yeah.
You're going to need different metrics and different things. And if you're a massive brand that is trying to pull students from all over the world to come to your
Mm.
school, it's going to look a little bit different. And so you don't really want to plug and play. You want to be able to customize for what you need, right?
Yeah,
Community
exactly.
college needs something different than a large public state school versus a selective private or something like that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. You might want to do kind of more social listening, or if you're a local community college, you might want to focus on local hashtags, for example, on Instagram. You want to see, I can't think of any. You're looking at your London Community College, for example. You can want to look at like a hashtag London students, and you want to monitor that and see kind of what's happening there, or your own branded hashtags, things like that. So
Wow.
it's a lot of data involved.
So much
Yeah.
data. So much data. So if you guys don't have, if you have any other last questions, if you wouldn't mind popping them in the chat, we want to be respectful of your time. I know it's winding down to the end of the year. Campuses are getting ready to close. I'm sure there's students out in my hallway somewhere that need their advisor. But I just want to thank you again, Tristan. This was absolutely amazing. And I feel like we only scratched the surface in a little over an hour. But thank you so much for lending us your expertise and what you were doing and being able to see what a large outfit can do with something like this. So
Yeah.
and for all of you thank you guys for joining us live. I know we're we're at a weird time frame. I'm on Eastern time, and for Tristan, it's almost dinner time for him in
Yeah,
London.
6 p.m. here.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
And our West Coast friends, it's still brunch time for you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. And if there's ever a webinar that you want to see on a topic related to social media or in higher ed for universities and colleges, let us know over in the Facebook group, #HigherEdSocial. We also have we're on all the platforms. We have a YouTube, an Instagram, a Twitter. Engage with us there. But our main community is in the Facebook group. Come on over, Higher Ed Social, and come and join our community. So thank you so much, Tristan. I really appreciate it. Thanks, you guys, for joining us live. And that's all we have for you today. So we'll see you in the next webinar. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.